In the cold darkness of space, just beyond the edge of Zorthan territory, a strange shape drifted silently. No signal, no movement, no engine trails. It did not blink or flicker like normal ships. It was just their Captain Vurak of the Zorthan. Scout vessel Talonai stared at the shape through the viewing screen. He frowned. Is that a ship? His second officer, Ree, checked the scans again. It's not sending any ID code. No alliance tag, no known design. It's just ... silent. They were near the outer border, an area usually full of cargo ships, smugglers, and patrol units. But this thing was different. It didn't look like any ship Vurak had ever seen. It was black, darker than space around it. The light from the nearest star barely touched its surface. And it was massive, longer than a city, with sharp angles and strange curves that didn't make sense. Try scanning it, Vurak ordered. Ree nodded and activated the scan beam. A green pulse shot out from their vessel toward the unknown object. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then the Talonai began to shake. Captain, the scanner is failing. It's feeding us wrong data. Ree shouted, hands flying over controls. The main screen filled with static. Symbols appeared that one could understand. And then the ship's internal lights flickered. The AI stuttered. ERR human. Origin. A deep voice came through the speaker, but it wasn't from their own ship. And silence. Everyone on the bridge went still. Captain Vurak stood up slowly. Did that just say human? Ree's eyes were wide. That shouldn't be possible. Humans left this part of the galaxy over 60 years ago. No communication, no trade, no movement. They disappeared. Yet that ship is here, Vurak said, staring again at the dark shape. Suddenly, the object moved just slightly. Not a full turn, but enough to show that it wasn't drifting. It was aware. Vurak felt something cold run down his spine. Send a message to Central Command. Mark this as Class Red. Unknown human ship spotted. Possibly active. Possibly watching. Across the galaxy, in the Zorthan capital, the High Council received the message. At first, they laughed. Humans? They were clever animals. But they were never a threat, one counselor said. But then the scan logs arrived. Engineers looked at the data. What they saw made them nervous. The scan had failed in less than 10 seconds. All readings turned to random noise. Some data even looked like human language, though twisted. The Zorthan computers had never failed like this before. Worse, the strange shape wasn't made from any known material. No heat signature. No power source detected. It wasn't even using normal warp drive. It was just floating there. One scientist, an old researcher named Dao, whispered, "It's a ghost ship, but it's alive." Back at the border, Captain Vurak kept a safe distance. They didn't try scanning again. They didn't send messages. They only watched. For the next few hours, the ship stayed silent. But the tension grew heavy. Some crew members began to panic. Others refused to sleep. Then, as if it had heard their fear, the unknown ship began to move. Slowly, it drifted forward straight toward the Zorthan outpost planet nearby. Vurak stood from his chair. "We can't stop it." Ree looked at him. "What should we do?" Vurak gave the only answer he could. "We follow, but not too close. That ship, it's not like anything we've seen." As the black vessel passed a small moon, something shocking happened. The moon's gravity scanner picked up a distortion, a heavy pull like from a star, yet the ship barely made a sound. No engines fired. No visible push. It just moved. That night, on the Talonai, a young crew member had a dream. In her dream, the dark ship turned and looked directly at her through space. It had no face, No lights, no voice. But in her mind, it said, "You looked too soon." When she woke up, her hands were shaking. Captain Vurek knew one thing for sure. This was not a normal ship. And if it belonged to humanity, then the galaxy had forgotten something very important. Something they were about to remember. The scan had revealed the truth, and it was beyond comprehension. Asterisk. The Zorthan High Council did not waste time. After receiving the scout report and damaged scan data from Talanai, they authorized a high-priority mission. Send their most advanced deep-spectrum scanner ship, the Vox Ray, to study the unknown vessel. The Vox Ray was not a warship, but its scanners could cut through cloaking, analyze star cores, and even map energy signatures from a planet away. If anything could uncover the truth, it was this ship. Captain Errol, a tall and quiet veteran, stood on the Vox Ray's control deck, staring at the dark screen. No image of the strange vessel had ever been fully captured, only glitchy outlines, twisted shadows, and strange symbols. "Begin full spectrum scan," Errol ordered. The crew activated the scanner. Dozens of frequencies were fired at the ship, from infrared to quantum pulse waves. For a few seconds, everything seemed normal. The system began receiving data. Then, chaos. The lights dimmed. Static filled every screen. The ship's power systems dropped to emergency mode. Everyone's personal visors flashed a single message in strange symbols. No one could read them, except one line. It appeared across all systems. "This is not yours to see." Captain Errol stared at the glowing letters. They were in perfect Zorthan script, but no one had typed them. They were not in the ship's programming. The AI began to stutter. "Captain, there is a presence," said the AI's voice, trembling like never before. "A presence?" Errol asked, trying to stay calm. "It is inside the scanner system. I do not understand. I am not alone." The lights flickered again. Then the screens flashed white. The bridge crew covered their eyes. A pulse wave ran through the ship, a shock without force, a push without direction. When the systems came back online, everyone felt wrong. One crew member whispered, "I heard a voice. In my head, it said my name." Another said, "I saw something standing behind me. But when I turned, there was nothing." A technician ran a diagnostic. "Sir, the scan didn't just fail, it reversed. The target ship scanned us." "What?" Errol blinked. Double quotes, "Yes. All our ship's data layout, crew files, mission logs, it's been accessed, downloaded, and changed." He opened one file, his own medical record, but the blood type listed was now compatible type 7, human identified. Captain Errol's eyes narrowed. "That's impossible." But more than one officer had the same change in their records. Someone had reached inside their system and left a message. "You are known." Back in the capital, the High Council watched nervously as the Vox Ray logs came in. What they saw terrified them. Not just the strange message, not just the reverse scan, but what came after. The ship had vanished from the edge of Zorthan space. No warp signature, no jump trace. It simply blinked out. And then, a moment later, it reappeared deep inside Zorthan space, hovering above one of their moon research stations. "How?" one counselor cried. "How can a ship of that size teleport?" It was impossible. Even their best ships needed gates or warp routes, but the dark ship had broken every known rule of science. Worse, the researchers on that moon station had gone silent. At the moon base, a lone technician named Frahl woke up on the floor of the control room. He couldn't remember passing out. The monitors were dark. Emergency lights flickered. Everything was quiet. Then he looked at the viewing window. The warship was right outside, massive and still. As he stared, he realized something strange. He wasn't afraid. In fact, He felt calm, safe, even warm. He stood up and walked to the glass, and that's when he saw it, a shape inside the ship, a figure, not mechanical, not alien. It was human. She wore a black uniform. Her eyes glowed faint blue, and she was looking directly at him, through the ship's hull. And then she smiled. Frau blinked. And the ship vanished. When the council replayed Frau's emergency video footage, they froze the image. There, just for a second, was the woman. Calm, confident. Human. The same smile from Earth's historical archives. The kind humans once wore when they knew they were the smartest in the room. "We are being watched," one counselor whispered. "This ship is not here by mistake." Another asked the obvious question. If this is just one ship, how many more are there? No one answered. But now, the galaxy knew one thing for certain. Humanity's warship wasn't just advanced. It was beyond understanding. And they had just been scanned back. Asterisk. The Zorthan Central Research Facility was the most secure science hub in the known galaxy. It sat inside a hollowed asteroid, protected by 3 defense rings and AI firewalls, so advanced they were rumored to be unbeatable. And yet the strange ship's scan had pierced straight through it. Researcher Julo sat alone in Lab Section 9, reviewing corrupted data from the Vox-ray incident. His orders were clear. Find out what the unknown ship was made of, how it moved, and most importantly, who made it. Julo had studied alien tech for 40 years. He had broken encryption from 5 species. He even studied old Terran records from before Earth disappeared from galactic matters. But nothing he saw in these files made sense. No fusion lines. No energy core. No thermal output. He mumbled, scrolling through the scan fragments. How can something that big be completely cold? And then something changed. The screen flickered. A corrupted symbols rearranged. A new line appeared. In the middle of the screen, glowing softly in green. "You are not ready." Julo froze. That wasn't part of the scan data. That was live. Before he could respond, his computer buzzed and a DNA structure appeared on screen. At first, he didn't recognize it. But then he cross-checked it with the Galactic database. It was human DNA, a strand, embedded deep within the scan of the mysterious warship. And it wasn't just some random code. It was active, alive, bonded directly with the ship's frame. In the council chambers, alarms sounded. Julo had triggered a human origin protocol, something that hadn't been used in decades. When the council saw the evidence, the room fell silent. "Explain this," said the first voice. Julo stepped forward, holding a glowing tablet. "This ship isn't just piloted by humans. It's grown around them. Their DNA is part of the design." "Impossible," one counselor whispered. But Julo shook his head. "I ran it 10 times. This is real. The ship isn't just a machine, it's a living construct. And the core of it is human." Another voice asked, "What kind of human could survive inside that thing?" Julo's face was pale. "I don't think these are normal humans anymore." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, whispers began to spread. A secret fleet commander, hidden on the edge of a red dwarf system, received the decrypted message from the Vox-ray. He played the audio clip where the human woman spoke through the silence. Her voice echoed in his private chamber, calm, gentle, but powerful. "You reached out without permission. We returned the gaze. That is all." He sat back, stunned. No threat, no anger. Just cold fact, and yet he felt fear in his bones. He turned to his second in command. "How do we fight something that speaks like a god?" Back at the Moon Research Base, Survivor Frau was placed under observation. He didn't speak much, only repeated one phrase over and over. "She looked at me, and I felt like I was being Read like a book. Doctors ran brain scans. His thoughts were calm, steady. Too steady. One doctor leaned in. Frau, do you remember what she said? Frau blinked, then slowly replied. She didn't need to say it. The message was, we are here, and you are not ready. The doctors shared worried glances. Somehow, a human presence had reached inside a Zorthan brain without contact. Without sound, just through a look across the Council's security network, panic began to rise. If this warship had human DNA, if it could change files, shut down ships, teleport without tech, and send thoughts across space, then the warship wasn't just a ship. It was a message. One counselor stood up and spoke. The thought none of them wanted to say aloud. What if this wasn't an accident? What if they sent this ship here to remind us they never left? Another added in a whisper, and what if this is just the first? Late that night, Julo sat alone in his lab again. He replayed the scan one more time, slowing the signal loop down to its smallest fraction. Inside the white noise, he found it. Heartbeat, steady. Human. Inside the ship. And beneath it, a single word, written in old Earth standard, hidden so deep, no AI'd found it before. Observation Unit 6, do not interfere. Julo stared at the words, his fingers trembling. Unit 6? That meant there were at least 5 others. He rushed to report it, but before he could reach the door, the lights in his lab dimmed, and the same woman's voice echoed softly from his console. You have seen enough. The message spread like wildfire. From Zorthan scientists to high-ranking generals, the discovery of Observation Unit 6 and the human DNA ship sent shockwaves through every military and research outpost. Meetings were held in secret, systems were locked down, and intelligence officers scrambled to locate any other sign of Earth's return. But there was no need. Humanity wasn't hiding anymore. Ships across multiple sectors began detecting strange pulses, brief signals, lasting less than a second, appearing in deep space and disappearing before anyone could trace them. These weren't normal transmissions. They weren't calls for help. They were like tests, echo scans, whispered Admiral Krall of the Southern Defense Line. They're mapping our responses, seeing how we react. His aide looked confused. To what, sir? Krall's voice was grave. To fear. In the war room of the Zorthan capital fleet, a new plan was formed. The unknown ship, possibly human, possibly something worse, was now considered a level Omega threat. Fleet Commander Rosin, a grizzled war hero, stood before the High Council via Hala. If we allow this thing to drift unchallenged, we will look weak, he said. We must confront it. At the very least, send a fleet to surround and demand identification. One counselor argued, and if it doesn't reply? Rosin didn't hesitate. Then we show force. His plan was approved. 38 ships, armed with the most advanced Zorthan tech, were sent to intercept Observation Unit 6 near the ice moon of Eltherus. The galaxy watched. When the Zorthan fleet arrived, the warship was waiting. Not moving, not charging weapons, not just floating. Rosin ships formed a full circle, surrounding it from all sides. Fighters hovered nearby, scanning every angle, recording every second, broadcast on all channels. Rosin said, a voice message was sent. Unidentified vessel. You are trespassing in protected space. Power down and identify yourself immediately, or be fired upon. No answer. They waited 30 seconds. Rosin gave the order again. Final warning. Respond or face destruction. Silence. Rosin clenched his fist. Fire all primary weapons. Disable, not destroy. But the command was never completed. Suddenly, every ship in the fleet went dark. Lights blinked out. Engines shut down. Weapons failed. Even the internal gravity failed. Crew members floated from their chairs in confusion and fear. Razin shouted, "Status, what happened?" His voice echoed in a dead room. The only thing still working was the viewing screen, and there it was. The human ship, unmoved, untouched, but now. Something glowed on its side. A line of text. "You speak in threats. We listen in silence." Razin stared in horror. Then, every ship in the fleet received a message directly into their command consoles. "We remember the last war. You do not. Stand down." The message was signed, Terran High Command Signal Shadowline. No one knew what Shadowline meant, but it was enough. The fleet slowly powered down and retreated, not because they were told, but because, deep inside, every commander felt it. They were being spared. Back at the Zorthan capital, panic broke through official silence. News leaked. People talked. For the first time in 60 years, children whispered stories of Terrans. In the streets, markets closed early. Merchants feared moving between systems. Pirate groups went silent. Across the stars, the word human became a whisper, not a species, not a nation. A warning in distant territories. Other races began asking questions. The Vernari Confederation activated its archives, searching for anything about Earth's last fleet. The Grell-Tor Republic declared emergency contact protocols with former human allies. Some species tried to make peace. Others prepared for war. But no one understood what humanity had become. Not anymore. Meanwhile, far away on a hidden station deep within a red nebula, an old Zorthan general watched the chaos unfold through a secret feed. He spoke into a private recorder meant only for the Grand Archive. They called humans primitive once. Too emotional, too fragile, too kind, but they forgot what that kindness covered. They forgot that Earth was a death world. And now, they've remembered. He paused, then added quietly, "We never should have ignored them. We never should have left them alone." As fear spread across the galaxy, Observation Unit 6 continued. Its silent drift through stars. No destination. No message. Just presence. And every species now asked the same thing. If this is what one ship can do, what is waiting back on Earth? The warship hadn't fired a single shot, and yet it had defeated a fleet, the Zorthan military, known across the galaxy for precision and cold efficiency, had returned home with no answers, only silence. Their systems had rebooted eventually, but their pride DIDN single quotes T. Commanders lied. Officers changed the logs, and governments whispered, "Maybe it's better we don't provoke it again." But one man wanted truth, not silence. Admiral Lurvin, commander of the Deep Listening Array, had never trusted politics. His job was not to attack, but to listen to every signal, echo, and sound between stars. And what he had just discovered kept him awake at night. Observation. Unit 6 was not just broadcasting passive energy. It was singing in his hidden station. Orbiting a dead star, Lurvin amplified the ship's frequency and slowed it down 1,000,000 times. What had sounded like background noise now took shape. A pattern. Rhythm. Not random. Not mechanical. It was a voice. A woman's voice, calm, distant, but clear. To those who hear, this is not a warning. This is a remembering. Lurvin froze. Headphones pressed tight. He turned up the volume. "You watched us grow. You studied our fall. And when we rose again, you turned your gaze away. But Earth never stopped watching you." Then silence, followed by a second voice, deeper, older, male. "We are not the same ones you left behind." Lurvin felt a cold chill run down his spine. The voices weren't just messages. They carried emotion, sadness, strength, and something else. Forgiveness. That same moment. On a quiet mining station in neutral space, a young alien technician named Rel worked alone. His job was simple: maintain the old satellites and avoid trouble. He was listening to music through an old receiver when suddenly his playlist stopped. Static filled his ears, then a single word whispered softly. "Hello." Rel ripped the headphones off, heart pounding. He checked the console. No incoming call. No signal listed. No data recorded. Just that word. But it didn't come through the machine. It came into his mind. Later that day. Across multiple systems, similar events occurred. A pilot flying alone heard a human lullaby inside his thoughts. A diplomat on a trade station saw a vision of Earth's oceans while dreaming. A child in a distant colony spoke English in her sleep, though her species had never learned it. The galaxy was being touched, one mind at a time, by something ancient, something human. Back in the Zorthan capital, emergency meetings were called. Some leaders wanted war. Others wanted retreat. But one thing united them all: fear of the unknown. And then, for the first time, Observation Unit 6 moved toward the galactic core. Not fast. Not aggressive, but with purpose that it did not respond to. Calls. It did not stop. It just moved forward into territory long forgotten. A place once visited by human explorers before their silence. A place with buried secrets. As panic grew, Earth's name returned to official maps. Navigation systems updated. Old human databases were restored for study. But one, Planet Varela 3, unlocked something that changed everything. Buried under ice. A long-lost human probe activated. It wasn't built for war. It was built to witness. Its last message recovered. By researchers simply said, "We were never alone. We were just patient." And the file was signed THC, Terran High Command. The same name seen in the ship's last message. That's when the researchers realized Observation Unit 6 was not here to attack. It was here to watch the Watchers and to speak through silence. Back on Lurven Station, another voice came through. This time, it didn't play through equipment. It entered his room directly through the air. Like wind. The same calm female voice from before. "Admiral Lurven, you have listened well." He spun around, heart racing. No one was there, but the voice continued. "Your people judged us, left us, mocked our ways. But Earth does not hold anger. We remember. We remember pain. We remember fire. We remember rising." Then a pause. "The galaxy thinks peace is forgetting, but true peace is knowing." He whispered, "What are you?" The voice answered gently, "We are what comes after understanding." Across the stars, the warship continued forward. Silent. Peaceful. Unstoppable. And now, the galaxy listened, not with sensors, but with hearts pounding, for when the voice returned, they feared what it would say next. Deep within the restricted archives of Zorthan intelligence, behind layers of encrypted doors and artificial guards, there was a chamber known only by codename, the Vault. Few even knew it existed. Even fewer had ever entered. But now, after the appearance of Observation Unit 6, every alarm in the Vault had lit up red. Old files, some untouched for decades, began to unlock on their own. Forgotten human records, lost Terran transmissions, black box warnings, and one glowing symbol kept appearing. THC Unit 6 active. Security Chief Dren was called in. Immediately. A logical, cold man. He believed only in facts, not myths. He stood inside the vault, staring at rows of holographic displays. One file hovered in front of him, flashing. He opened it. A face appeared. A human woman, smiling gently. She wore an old Earth uniform, something from over 300 years ago. Her eyes were a calm gray, but something behind them looked Eternal dot, she spoke. If you are seeing this, then Observation Unit 6 has reached your borders. This is not an act of war. This is a checkpoint. You are being measured. The message continued. Your systems may fail. Your ships may pause. This is not aggression. This is confirmation. Earth must know if you are worthy of memory. Dren paused. The file? What does that mean? He whispered. One of his analysts replied, Sir, they're not testing weapons. Dren turned slowly. Then what are they testing? The analyst gulped. Our behavior. At the same time, across space, Observation Unit 6 passed a listening satellite built by the Varakan Hive. As it did, the satellite's sensors went dead, but its memory core remained active. Later, when the Varakans recovered the core, they found something strange inside. Not a virus, not a threat, but a gift, an entire copy of Earth's ancient knowledge-based language. Music, medicine, even art, no instructions. No demands, just sharing, at first. Iraqi leaders panicked, then. Their scientists began translating the data, and they cried. For the first time in their cold, hive-bound history, they heard a human love song, in a hidden moon base. Researcher Julo, who had first discovered the human DNA signature, received a message from the vault. It contained a new file, Project Lighthouse. He opened it, and a list of ship IDs appeared. Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, all marked, terminated. Unit 4, unknown. Unit 5, lost in rift. And then Unit 6, operational. Observing Sector G-9.JULO single quotes S hands trembled. There were 6 of them. He clicked. On Unit 6's log. Its launch date was 512 years ago. Its mission? To observe the emotional progress of post-contact species. That's when Julo understood. This wasn't just a ship. It was a living sensor. It didn't attack, because that wasn't its purpose. It simply watched, and judged. Meanwhile, back on Observation Unit 6, something finally stirred. Inside the ship, beneath layers of black metal and living tissue, a room came alive. Dim lights flickered on. A single figure stood inside. A woman, the same one seen in Frau's vision. She opened her eyes. They glowed with a soft blue light. And then she smiled, not cruelly, not arrogantly, but with the quiet strength of someone who had seen too much and endured everything. She whispered to the ship, "We have waited long enough." The walls around her pulsed in reply. She took a breath, then sent a message through deep space channels, direct, encoded, untraceable. Carried one sentence. The data vault is open. Begin the final review. Across the galaxy, dozens of silent human installations, long forgotten, buried under alien cities or frozen in asteroids, suddenly powered up. They didn't launch attacks. They didn't send weapons. They simply played. Recordings of history, of Earth, of loss, of kindness, of fire, and of warning. One recording showed a Terran child helping an alien wounded in war. Another showed Earth's sky filled with black ships during the last invasion and humans defending every inch. Another showed something terrifying. A gathering of Terran ships orbiting a sun pulsing with energy. Unnamed. UNNUMBERED. The message was clear. This is what we were. This is what we are. This is what we can be. The High Council met in silence. No one dared speak first. Finally, one elder asked, "Why haven't they attacked?" No one answered. Then a voice echoed from the center console. Without being activated. It was her again. "Human woman. She spoke calmly. "You assume we want revenge. We don't. We wanted to be remembered. You failed that test. But we are kind. We give second chances. A pause. Do not waste it." The connection ended. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy began to understand. Earth was not angry. Earth had evolved. Asterisk. The stars were quiet. Observation Unit 6 had stopped moving, not because it was broken, but because its mission was nearly complete. And now floated above an abandoned Terran relay station, hidden within the rings of a gas giant. The relay hadn't been touched in over 400 years. Rusted panels, broken antennas, dust frozen in place. Until now. As the ship hovered, a soft pulse of blue light flowed from its hull. The relay flickered, then glowed. It wasn't dead. It had been sleeping. And now it remembered. Inside the relay, old systems came online. Faded files spun open. One of them was a message labeled Final Broadcast, Terran High Command. It played. A man's voice. Firm, slow, full of pain and hope. To those who find this, we left not because we lost, but because we chose to become something better. We saw the galaxy's path, war after war, fear after fear. So we walked away. We waited. We watched. And now we are ready. And silence. Then one last line. If you found this, remember, power fades, but understanding lasts forever. The message ended. The stars felt heavier. Back on Zorthan Prime. Panic had been replaced by something new. Fear, not anger, but a deep, uncomfortable awe. Governments had stopped speaking. Military fleets had powered down. Even pirates were silent across the black, because across every species, every planet, they all felt the same thing. They were being studied. Not by machines, not by soldiers, but by something older, deeper, a memory that had never died. And worst of all, it didn't need to prove anything anymore. Captain Vorak, still aboard his scout vessel Talon I, stared once more at the ship he had first found. It hadn't changed in form. Still dark, still silent, still far beyond understanding. He now knew he was not looking at a weapon. He was looking at a question, a quiet challenge. He whispered to himself, "We thought they were gone, but they were always watching." His second in command, turned to him. "Sir, should we call command?" Vorak shook his head. "No, let them watch us back." Observation Unit 6's core chamber lit up once more. The human woman, her face calm, her eyes glowing, stood in the center of a vast star map. Dots of light represented systems, species, movements, memories. Behind her, new life stirred. Other forms, not just humans, walked among the glowing data. Some looked Zorthan. Some looked like no species ever seen before. But they moved together, not as conquerors, not as rulers, but as witnesses. Each carried pieces of something long lost. Earth's legacy. In distant systems, hidden human installations began disappearing. Not destroyed, reclaimed. Folding space. Vanishing without a trace. Leaving behind symbols etched into rock or sky. You were seen. You were measured. You are not yet finished. Some worlds called it a judgment. Others called it a mercy. Only a few understood the truth. Humanity wasn't testing for war. They were testing for growth. Back in the vault, researcher Julo sat alone in the dark. He had unlocked all he could. Read every file, decoded every whisper. And yet, one final file had just appeared. It had no title, only a soft glow. He opened it. A video played. It was Earth. Blue skies, oceans, forests, children laughing, then cities floating in space. Ships flying in silence, people working together. The last image was simple. A Terran holding hands with an alien child, looking at the stars. And the message read, "This is what power became." In the skies above, Observation Unit 6 powered down. Not broken. Not abandoned. Just complete. It drifted toward a red sun. slowly dissolving into light. The final transmission echoed across the void. The galaxy was given time. Now, it must decide what it will do with it. In the years that followed, war began to fade. Small empires fell without force, new alliances formed, not through fear, but through shared silence. And across space, stories were told of a ship that didn't fire, but changed everything. A ship with no weapons, only memory, only truth, only humanity. Asterisk.